Keep your calls coming, 1300 222 774. I do want to talk about death next, but I'm not meaning for this to be a sad conversation. I'm keen to know whether, if you could, you would want to interact with a loved one beyond the grave, not through a medium like a psychic, but technology. Now, I lost my mum a couple of years ago, and I still listen to her voicemails. So what if listening could be turned into interaction? If I could actually have a chat with mum, and it was a chat with mum, an AI version of mum that she had designed herself, I'm pretty confident mum would have been appalled, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. So would you welcome a digital replica of someone that you've lost? Give me a call, 1300 222 774. Chris Williams is the CEO and founder at Afterlife AI. Chris Williams, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So tell me how this works.
Look, so Afterlife, I just want to say from the outside, obviously it's a very exciting product, and but it is not for everyone. Okay, I just want to preface that, and as a business, we're aware of that. But what it does, Ali, is it's able to, you would make a conscious decision today to replicate yourself, and that could be through interacting via chat, uploading photos, videos, audio, so voice recordings as well. And you can actually create a persona replica of yourself today for future planning. You can then continue to converse and basically have that as a mentor, for the future. And then at some point, if you're unfortunately not around, that persona would then lock. So it wouldn't grow anymore. And that would then mean that your family is able to communicate with that persona under your wishes. So you would nominate who it can communicate to and how. And that's the product that we have today, and the reaction has been quite positive.
So just let me ask you, let's just break it down a little bit. So the persona would lock, because that was one of the things I was thinking. AI is super smart. Once you've trained AI, it can sort of take on a life of its own. So it wouldn't keep updating your persona based on what you had fed into it. You would lock it off once you had finished building it, and you'd shuffled off this mortal coil.
Exactly, and that's a really critical difference. So the persona would stop growing. There's a process called Executor Lock, either by yourself or by the person that you nominate for that Executor Lock process, and that's the point where the persona stops growing. So you have complete control over it, and it doesn't then continue ingesting information in a new era where you're not around and actually then deviate from who you were. And I think that level of control, it ticks one of the boxes that people inherently are a little bit concerned about with AI. Exactly as you've said, does that change over time? Where does it go from here?
So can you build something that, what do you do? Do you put in questions that you think your loved ones might want to ask you after you're gone and put in answers? I mean, how do you or is it more a repository of, here are photos that you might want to see? I mean, what sort of things do people do with it?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I mean, look, me personally, I've got 4 young kids, and what the product does initially, and the way that it extracts the best information, is by finding things that resonate with you, things that are important or emotionally, a big part of your life. For example, what would you say to your daughter on her wedding day if you weren't around? Or if you're a grandparent, what would you say to your grandson at his graduation?
But I could just leave a video if I wanted to do that.
Yes, you could, but the point here is that by communicating and by providing that relationship and that insight to what your beliefs and your persona is, that's how the AI is best able to characterize and recreate you as a person. So it's not just a repository that replays that memory. It actually grows from that memory, and it takes other memories and it learns as much detail as possible based on all those data points. And we're talking millions of data points here. And that's how it's going to get the best replica of your persona to give the most legitimate, relation to someone if you're not around.
You're listening to Chris Williams from Afterlife AI. We're talking about digital replicas of yourself that you can leave for loved ones. You can also, Chris Williams, you can control who can access it?
Absolutely correct. So you've got the process Executor Lock. You've also got a process called Trusted Contacts. So those two are interrelated. You would nominate, it might be your sister, your son, and they're the only people that persona can interact with if you're not around.
Chris, do you mind if we just take a listener question? I've got a question here. It's probably better that I put it to you as opposed to try and answer it myself. Bruce is in Red Hill. Bruce, what's your question?
Oh, hi. Look, I'm just curious as to what would the legal status of this AI-generated being be? Let's say, for argument's sake, there was a dispute over the will. Would this AI-generated being have any input, any legal input into that dispute?
Interesting point, Chris.
So this is a fantastic question, and we've actually got currently as a business more than 60 patents. And it's not just about replicating your persona; it's also about replicating what are your wishes, consideration towards estate management, asset management, wealth management after you're not around. And look, to answer you simply today, that persona would be able to give insight, okay, but it's not going to be a legally binding person.
So it wouldn't have any real legal standing if there was a dispute over the will.
Not today, but I expect, and we forecast it within a few years' time, that's going to change. There's so many data points here in the world. This is going to change. Personalities are going to be replicated. This is not a unique item today that won't grow. And I expect that there will be a point where that persona, you can leave your wishes, and those wishes will be very explicit, and that may be done in conjunction with legal documentation, or it may be explicitly agreed as part of the process. So if it's done properly, yes. But just asking a persona, how do we break down the sale of the house? Is it 50-50? That's going to be something that's still done by will today, but that process is changing rapidly. And another example might be estate management. Let's say there's $5 million in a nest egg, a trust fund for a family, as an example. What the family may do is actually go to the persona, who may be the mum or the dad of the trust, and say, Mum, how we best utilise these funds? Or Dad, how do we best utilise it? And based on that personality and that persona, that's going to give really valuable insights that obviously have been delivered with a very conscious position to let's best utilise that trust or for the betterment of the family. So I do think that, yes, it's a very interesting item, and I do think it will at some point morph into a legal interaction that has more binding outputs. And I also believe at some point, perhaps 5 or 10 years away, that there might even be a level of a government identification for a persona. Personas might be able to make other decisions as well. And I think that process, will develop over time. Okay,
so we really are jumping ahead here. Chris Williams, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the CEO and founder at Afterlife AI. Give me a call. Tell me what you make of it. 1300 222 774. A digital persona. You can communicate with someone in the afterlife. The persona is not done by AI. It is done by AI, but a persona that is built by the person who it is the digital version of. That sounds a little convoluted, doesn't it? But would you want to interact with a persona like that?